can I talk about the thing that I have started?
I would love for you to do that.
I have started the video game ICO. Or ICO. I don't know how it's pronounced.
No one knows.
No one's said it in the video game yet. ICO.
Yeah.
Well, like I see you holding my hand.
Holding hands.
Because there's a lot of holding hands in this game.
Holding hands in this game?
Yeah.
As in holding on to handholds? It's a rock climbing game?
No, like holding on to...
holding on to each other's hands.
Each other's hands.
That's nice.
So this is a game
I know nothing.
that came out... When did it come out? It came out in 2001. On the PlayStation 2. It's directed by Fumito Ueda, who has also directed the game Shadow of the Colossus after this. That's one that I played. And The Last Guardian, that was one that was in development hell for a long time. And also, as we talked about, I believe, on the Game Awards episode, it just announced a new game where it's someone climbing a big robot while a big explosion tsunami or something hits. A lot of these games are very simple and minimalistic. And
Climb a big creature.
Climb a big thing.
Yeah.
Here's your a very, like, I don't know, minimal, but like simple relationship between the main character and another thing.
Yes.
And how does that make you feel?
Yep.
And what if we did a twist at the end?
Nice.
I never finished The Last Guardian. That one, you're this boy and you have this big dog, bird, cat thing, massive, that's like your friend, and you unshackle it from being shackled at the start and you escape its entrapment, and you do big jumps onto it and you climb up its feathers and you call it to come and help you. It's very cute, very fun. Well, actually, the controls were really tough to use and the camera was terrible and it wasn't very well received.
What were the climbing controls?
Climb the big bird thing, the big bird dog thing.
But what button?
As it moves.
What?
I don't know, but you have to hold probably.
Yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus, that's one that I finished. I played the Blue Point Studios remake of that. That is climb big colossal creatures and kill them.
Yeah.
There's a princess and she's in a coma. If you want to save her, there are like fucking 12 of these big things. You get a horse, you can ride the horse around to find them. You use a big sword, you put in, you chuck in, you hold up a head on above you, and if the sun hits it, then it will point in the direction of the way you need to go to find one of these big monstrous beasts, and you find it. They're all different. One's like a big bird one, one's like a big lizard one, one's like a big monkey one, one's like a big man one. You just have to climb these things and stab them enough times.
Do they shake
Often
you
in the
off?
head. Yeah, they shake you off.
Yeah.
But you're climbing up their fur and the animations look gorgeous. They don't necessarily look realistic, but they look very pretty. And at the end of that, jump ahead 30 seconds, I guess. Yeah, if you don't want spoilers for the end of Shadow of the Colossus. You find out that all those beasts, they weren't evil. They weren't really the things that were keeping her in a coma. You were just told by this spirit that the way to save the princess is to kill these big things that look like awful beasts. But yeah, no, you just did that, and you feel bad about it at the end. You're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. This game, ICO, I've only played a couple of hours of it. It seems very similar to both The Last Guardian and Shadow of the Colossus, where you're this boy, and at the start you've been set to be sacrificed. You get put in like this cage thing, set to be sacrificed because you have horns. You're a very horny boy, and you escape. This is all in the cutscene. It's not, you don't actually, I felt like I was playing a fucking Kojima game with how long this starting cutscene was. But the character sort of just rocks a bit and then just knocks the cage over and escapes. Like, that seems...
You didn't try that any earlier?
You didn't try that any earlier?
You didn't stress test this cage?
Nobody else tried. Nobody else has escaped by just shifting their weight to the left and shift their weight to the right. Anyways, you escape, and then you'll come across this girl who's like glowing white, kind of. And she's in a cage that's well above you in this tower, and you climb up and you free her.
She couldn't just shift her weight to the left, shift her weight to the right? Fall out of the cage,
I suppose not.
Yeah. All you had to do is winch it up higher a bit, and no one can get out.
But you free her, and then you find she has some sort of magical ability to unlock certain things, whatever. But these shadow monsters are after her, and so you need to keep these shadow monsters away, and you're armed with a stick. I think that's it. That's all I've been armed with so far. Sometimes you can get the stick on fire.
Ooh.
But I don't think it does too much of a difference. And you're just whacking these shadow monsters. These shadow monsters, they don't really care about you. They just care about her.
Ah.
So they will go to grab her
Yeah.
and take her into like this shadowy hole from where they spawn from.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can like hit them to free her, or if she gets into the shadowy hole, I think that you can pull her out. But a lot of this is, I guess it's an escort mission.
I was going to say, it sounds like escort mission, but maybe actually good?
Maybe actually good when the whole game is based around it instead of just it being a funky mission where you have to worry about the health of one character that you really don't care about. But they will also, they come up, these shadow enemies appear in certain areas when you get to certain points, but they also, if you leave her alone too long, they'll just randomly spawn. So you need to make sure that you never stray too far away from her. And a way to do that, and a way to also, you can call for her to follow you, but you don't, she speaks another language. So you're not just openly communicating. So as you're moving around, a way for you to do it together is you go up to her and you hold down R1 and you hold her hand, and then you sort of like pull her along and you walk together. And it has this, it feels different when you're walking, holding hands with her. So your arm sort of gets, like you might move a bit, you might be moving a bit too fast, and so you'll be pulled back for a second. But it has this real connection as if you are running with this person. Which is really quite, I don't know, it's cute, I guess. It's very cute.
Do you feel connected to this little bunch of white pixels?
I think
Not yet.
I'm getting there, and I feel like you have to in this game, in the way of, if you feel sort of protective over this person that you're trying to escape with. And the fact that you need to literally, like, physically hold their hand, and for you physically hold down a button, I don't know, adds to that kind of like, protection, sense of, I don't know. I don't want to say ownership isn't the right word at all. What am I trying to say? Sense of responsibility?
Yeah,
responsibility.
Yeah. Something?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about The Last of Us.
So am I, and I was about to mention
Which does in a different way, because Ellie is a like rebellious preteen.
Yeah.
And so it's all about like convincing her to come along, pushing her to come along, in a couple of memorable sequences, running after her when she takes the lead, or kind of goes on a whim. And I think that this is an interesting maybe comparison to a slightly younger character, however old this princess is, or a kind of character who is more naive in the world, I guess, or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know too much about her yet. It's very much, I don't even know about the main, like, little boy that I'm playing as.
Horny cage boy.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be fleshed out as it goes. I do know that this game was very influential for a lot of games, I believe, including The Last of Us. So there's times in which you're doing the classic, I'm on a higher ledge and I'm going to help you up.
Yep.
But instead of just like clicking a button to boost someone up, or like you go to none of this has button prompts. I have just had to trial and error to be like, so that's how you grab something. Oh, because the first time you see her, you've gotten her out of the cage. She's just sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
You're like, what do I do? She's just sitting there. So I go up and I try different buttons, and eventually I hit R1 and like I grab her hand, and then I move, and then she moves with me. I'm like, oh, okay. Jumping as well. Jumping on triangle. You can remap the buttons, which is nice. But I actually don't hate triangle being jump for this.
Looks a bit like an arrow. I don't hate that.
Yeah. So that was really interesting, but also because it is quite an old game. This was originally made to be on the PlayStation 1.
Whoa.
But hardware limitations, and the PS2 was coming out. They just...
Hardware limitations? Tell that to Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. The trial and error felt okay, because it's never hold this button and press this one, or hold this one, press this one, and then you get this menu. Right. We're not at that stage of video games where every button has to do 4 different things.
Yeah. The God of War Ragnarok button system.
So it felt, I don't know, kind of fun to explore. But also, I'm sure at the time, and there is a manual for this. There would be a manual where you can just check that.
Yeah.
where was I going with this? Oh, The Last of Us. So there was a bit where she was at a lower platform. I was able to climb up a ladder and get to a higher platform. And I was like, well, how do I get her up here? And I went to the edge and she was just standing underneath. And I held down R1 and you lean down and you put your hand down. And it's only for when you're holding it. I think there's a difference between just like pressing a button as a button prompt to do an action and holding something, especially for an action like holding someone's hand, lifting them up. So it felt like for me, it just made the connection. It felt like a stronger connection to the action than I've had in other video games. And also because holding the other character's hand is a mechanic.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like go to this spot and press this button for an animation to play.
Yeah.
It felt like a thing that I'm doing.
I'm now reminded of Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man games where it's hold down R2 to swing. And you among many people are like, you should hold down R2 and L2 and it, depending on where you hold it.
Yeah.
Then, so like that's, I guess, a kind of halfway there in terms of traversal is not just a button to set off an animation, but is actually kind of involved. You hold it down, you feel the pressure back on you from the adaptive triggers and whatever. But then you're one of the people who are like, why not go all the way?
Yeah,
That's still how you feel?
Yeah, it's how I feel with a lot of things. Actually, this sort of brings up something that, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, we've started, even this episode, I think, we've started uploading our segments to YouTube. And we've been getting really interesting responses from people who wouldn't normally discover this podcast. And someone wrote in about the time that I was talking about Red Dead Redemption 2, and it was using that as an example of I'm done with committing to completing things.
Yeah.
For these experience at 100, so maybe like 50, 60 plus hours, even things that are less. If it's just not catching with me, let me find something that does instead of, always trying to finish everything that I start. This person commented and said, I liked Red Dead, but I do think it was too ambitious and didn't go far enough with things. Like they were very ambitious, but it seems like it went through development hell, or like
Compromises.
They made compromises, exactly. And they said, like, I wish that eating or washing yourself or different equipment that you have actually made a larger effect on the game. Like in Red Dead, you can shave. You can, go to a bath and get washed. You can eat different things, and they realistically don't have any effect on the gameplay at all besides, I'm a cowboy and I get to do this cowboy thing.
Yeah.
But if it was more of an immersive sim, it would have, I don't know, made you connect a bit better. And I think that's one of the things that disappointed me. I mean, we've talked about this before. Nakey Jakey has an incredible video about Red Dead 2 and how the wanted system is terrible. And when, depending on if you go into a town and commit a crime with or without a mask and then leave and then come back with or without a mask, it changes if people recognize you. Sometimes people recognize you as Arthur Morgan and sometimes they recognize you as just a wanted person. And it seems to not really connect perfectly with if they've actually seen your face or not or know you. It's interesting that I found that really an interesting comment that person made. And how the immersiveness of some things, like Spider-Man, of just holding down the web triggers to feel like I'm a bit more in control and feel like I'm more like I'm in the world, or this where pulling someone up is a mechanic, I feel like I'm actively doing it. I think it's actually something that PlayStation's done very well with recently with things like Astrobot and their even their controller, the fact that they have this haptic feedback, the fact that the triggers are adaptive. All of this stuff helps you feel like you're in the game. And when you're in a world, I mean, you referenced it before, when you're in the world of a video game, even if a video game is VR, it doesn't mean that you actually feel like you're there.
Yeah. Often VR introduces a bunch of barriers to feeling like you're there.
Yeah.
Almost because the standard is raised, or like you're standing on your feet and a bit more consciously in your body, and then they have to take you from that place to being immersed. So it's almost like a further gap they've created to then jump, which... Yeah.
You kind of give everyone the endless possibility of you are now in this world. You're like, great, I'm going to run forward. It's like, no, you'll hit the wall. Don't do that. Like, it's all smoke and mirrors, but what actually is, you can do as much smoke and mirrors as you want, but it's going to be like the rocks that are being pelted at you that make you feel like you're there. You know, does that make
Like the challenges
any
to overcome are
Yeah,
what
the challenges
actually ground
to
you.
overcome. Like, you can make it look all pretty, but the actual physical connections,
I like that.
the things that are going to ground you.
I like that.
Yeah, and these games buy a way to do ground you, I feel. I mean, it took me a while to finish Shadow of the Colossus. I dipped into that and dipped out, but by the end I was like, yeah, I'm glad I played that. This one I want to finish because this actually was a gift.
Right.
One of my coworkers was moving and they said, yo, I got a bunch of games that I'm getting rid of. Do any of these interest you? And I was like, well, ICO, once again, massive inspiration for so many games. I would love to finally play that. So they gave it to me. It was really nice. And because it's something that I want to finish before I go over to the States for a few months.
Yeah, right.
And because it's on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be taking that one with
have
me.
to.
I kind of have to. Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about how I'm going to play video games while I'm away.
Yeah, what have you been thinking? Because like,
How am I going to play video games while I'm away?
yeah, and how are you going to play video games while you're away?
Well, I'll bring the Nintendo Switch with me.
Yeah, obviously that'll be the go-to, I imagine.
PS5, that's gone in my back pocket. No, that'll have to stay here. Luckily the PS5 has its remote play, so I can use my computer through the internet. I don't know how it's going to go. Like, I've used remote play within the same house and it works decently. I've used it not in the same house. I've connected to our PlayStation from the top of a mountain in the Alpines of Victoria.
Yeah.
I think I opened up Red Dead 2 and just like climbed a mountain and be like, yeah, this is weird.
Now it's immersive, baby. This is all I've ever wanted.
So that was funny. And so I can do that. That'll be good. I'll need to take a controller with me. I'll take one of the PS4 ones. It's fine. I'll leave you the good one. So I can do that. It'll be fine. Also, the Switch 2 they've just announced that they're doing some hands-on experiences across the world. A couple in London, a couple in LA, a couple in Houston, and a couple in New York.
Ooh.
In April. So if I get on the wait list for that, I might be able to go in and actually try it out.
Damn.
Which would be fun.
That would be fun. There would be so many people wanting to do that.
So many people. Once I tell them I run a podcast.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They'll be like,
That's
come on
opened
in.
so many doors.
Yeah.
Doors to the podcast closet, open. Everything else, we're still working on
Still
it.
working on it. Have you
Well, if you want some games for your phone.
Okay. I do. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Shoehorn an advertisement for Netflix games.
Netflix Games has got you covered.
They have it on the computer now too. I don't know if
I think if you're going to get games on your computer, you should just get Steam and buy some interesting games that are cheap and small.
Well, I was using a VPN the other day to watch a TV show.
Yeah.
Watching Detroiters. Mm-hmm. And opened up Netflix and it said, oh, you have Netflix games on your computer. You can play Reigns and Reigns, Game of Thrones, and Reigns 2. I think all of them were just Reigns. But I don't
get out of the Reigns algorithm.
I don't think it's just in. I think it might be just in the States right now that you can do it.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything for my computer.
Yeah. But what are you recommending? I mean, I've just I'll save it for following up.
Okay.
I'll expand upon it a little and following up. But I might have bought a new computer. What do you recommend?
Computer games?
Yeah.
Or Netflix games or anything?
Computer games.
Computer games.
Or Netflix games as well.
My God, you're springing this on me unprompted. I am going to get back to you in the following up section next week. I don't want to miss anything great. Yeah.
All right. What about Netflix games?
Netflix games?
To give me a recommendation there.
Okay, well, Netflix games... Into the Breach, excellent. Terra Nil, fun. They're calling it a reverse city builder. It's kind of interesting. It's like an environmental...
Destroy? Reverse city builder. It's World of Tanks.
Meteor. Nice. No, you get a polluted, horrible industrial world and you have to fill it with like grasses and then trees.
You've talked about this on the podcast.
I have. Into the Breach
I
is
listen.
Great. Netflix games has a bunch of other great stuff as well, but those would be my top two.
Do they have Reigns?
Yeah.
Ah, sick.
Risk of Reigns, they have.
Risk of Reigns?
Yeah, no.
Is that
They don't have Risk of Reigns. Well, who knows?
Is that a Risk Reigns collaboration? Cross promotion?
Yeah.
Every time you want to move one of your armies or whatever,
some advisor pops up like, actually, I think that we should consider the grain imports.
Sounds great. It would make Risk better, probably.
Almost anything would make Risk better. People are like, Risk Legacy is fascinating. And I'm like, is it fascinating? Or is it just a worse version of Pandemic Legacy that's still better than Risk? Because almost anything is better than Risk.
I haven't played that, so I'm going to trust you on it.
Thank you.
If you want to play ICO, whatever it is, do. It looks real pretty. Look
How
at the
does
art.
a normal person
Look at
find
the
it?
art.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Look at the American art for it.
How does a normal person find this?
Get a PlayStation 2.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Do emulation on a computer. If you already own a copy or whatever, legal.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Of course.
If you own a copy of it, then you can, absolutely just fucking run it on your laptop. Or there's the version that I have is a PlayStation 3 ICO and Shadow of the Colossus. Both on there. God, they're both very beautiful games. I think if you're into story-based games, I don't know, get into the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 era of games and you want to see, I'm
into those
also
things.
Now, but like if you want to see where it came from, go back. This is a cult classic. Maybe even if it sounds intriguing, try Shadow of the Colossus, the Bluepoint remake that's on PS4 and PS5. Do that. Also, I've just learnt
what
this is apparently you can play 2 players.
That's fun.
One player plays as the main horny boy, and one plays as the glowing girl.
Just goes around in circles trying not to get eaten.
Yep.
Great stuff.
It's great stuff.